28 years on this beautiful earth, I have never once heard this. Have you heard that estrogen affects your digestion? I swear, the more and more I try to learn about perimenopause and do my research, I am just so shocked. Like there are so many different symptoms and different things that we go through that are affected by our hormones. All of a sudden, you can just be living your life, eating the foods that you love, and then all of a sudden, overnight, it's like, bam! Foods that you used to enjoy, you cannot eat anymore. If you're experiencing any kind of gut issues, you're not crazy, it's perimenopause. There's so many different factors as to what could be causing it. Either you're not getting enough sleep, you're stressed. It could be your estrogen. Estrogen controls so much of your digestion, it is crazy. So for example, what I learned is that estrogen, it helps with good bacteria. It reduces inflammation. So when your estrogen is out of whack, it starts to decline during perimenopause, so does all those benefits that it brings to your overall gut health. And I'm realizing the more and more I research perimenopause, unfortunately, it's just a gift that just keeps on giving. But so in today's video, I'm gonna share with you exactly what I did to fix my gut health in 30 days with these 3 simple tips that I think if they help me, they can definitely help you too. I am doing this series on how to thrive during perimenopause because it doesn't have to suck. We just have to find a system that works for our body. When your gut's not doing good, neither is your overall health. So the first thing that I did, I started to incorporate pre and probiotic foods into my diet. Not only foods, but also supplements. And so if you don't know what prebiotic foods are, because a lot of times we hear about probiotics, we don't really hear about prebiotics. To understand the two, think of it this way. Probiotics, it promotes good bacteria in your body. Prebiotics feeds that good bacteria, and they both work together hand in hand. I actually created a cheat sheet to make this easier if you don't know what pre and probiotic foods are in the description bar below. I'm not going to tell you what supplements to take. There's just so many great ones out there, but what I will do that's on the cheat sheet is that I did add the strains, the good bacteria strains, so that you make sure that your supplements have. Anyway, so I started doing that. I started adding some prebiotic foods to my diet, like for example, like garlic. Garlic is a really good one. Sometimes I'll eat it raw or I roast it. Onions, there's a whole slew of different ones. Also for probiotic, kefir. I started doing all that and I started taking some supplements, mixing them all together. And I kid you not, within a week of me just making these changes with adding pre and probiotic foods to my diet and the supplements, I went from looking super pregnant and bloated to looking somewhat normal. I'll put some pictures here so that you can see the difference between the two. This is so important because if you remember, when our estrogen drops, so does our good bacteria. So pre and probiotic foods, what they're gonna do is they're gonna help you maintain that good bacteria that we so desperately need. Just making these simple changes to your diet right away really will affect your overall gut health. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was scared because I was super gassy all the time. I could feel my stomach burning after I would eat meals. I was getting into, you get food stuck in your throat and you burp it up and you can feel the acid. Oh my goodness, that was so scary. I am a hypochondriac. So I literally thought I was dying. And so I didn't understand anything about estrogen. And I didn't even understand how lack of sleep and stress, I didn't realize how much damage it was going to do to my gut. Also, when your estrogen declines, your gut lining starts to thin out. And you start to develop a leaky gut, which is why I was having all this brain fog and just feeling like I just felt off. So if you want to make a drastic change to your health, I suggest you seriously download my cheat sheet and look into pre and probiotic foods and supplements. You don't have to take supplements, you can just do the foods and that will work perfectly fine for you. The second thing I did, now this one is really, really important. I don't think people talk about this enough. If you really want to take the guesswork out of what's going on with your body, I highly suggest you take a food sensitivity test because it will save you so much money and so much time trying to figure out what foods your body does not like. I actually did a lot of research looking at different food sensitivity tests. The pricing was pretty much mid to high, but I kept searching. I did find a test that was actually really inexpensive and it was a really comprehensive test. This is the test that I found. As you can see here, the prices are actually really reasonable. Right now they're on sale. I don't know how long that's gonna last. It's during the holidays, so if you wanna purchase it, don't worry, I'll put it in the link below. I did the highest one that tests you for over 1,000 sensitivities to food, non-food. It also checks your gut microbiome and your minerals. So this, I highly recommend this test. As you can see, all the different things that it offers. Honestly, if you want to go with the lower one, you definitely can. All three of these are great tests. What I love the most about this, a lot of the other food sensitivity tests was asking me to prick myself. I don't know about you, I'm very sensitive to blood, although I do like the color red, which make it make sense. But anyway, all you have to do is give them your hair sample. So you get hair from any part of your body. And I do mean any part of your body. When you're brushing your hair, you can just grab the hair from your brush and put it in the kit that they give you and then mail it back. You literally get your results. I got my results back in 3 days. So I guess it also depends on demand. So I think they say that you get your results within 7 days. So just once you get your results, it will rank the foods that you're sensitive to. So it goes high sensitivity, mild sensitivity, and then no reaction. And the foods that you're highly sensitive to are the ones that you should try to avoid. The ones that you're mildly sensitive to, they recommend that you not necessarily, you don't have to cut them out, but you limit how often you consume them. The ones you have no reaction to, you can just go ahead and just eat as much as you want. So what's cool about this is that it takes the guesswork off of what foods are causing you the most havoc. Because if you're sensitive to food, guess what it does? It causes inflammation in your body. And we know if we're in perimenopause, inflammation is like the death to our gut. So eliminating those foods that are high triggers for your body is key. So doing the pre and probiotics is step 1. And step 2, understanding what foods you're sensitive to. I'm telling you, it's like a game changer. You are going to be walking around feeling so amazing. And you know what's so funny? When your gut is in check, guess what happens? Your stomach starts to shrink. Yes, you're not as bloated because you got to understand if your gut's not working, you'll be backed up. Okay, so that's why it's so important to understand that. And then the third thing that I did, because once I did 1 and 2, I was like, I'm gonna take this a step further because I'm feeling so amazing. I want to keep this going. So the third thing that I did was I actually started eating for my blood type. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but I do know that there's no science that backs up eating for your blood type. Can I tell you that I feel so amazing? And it's so funny because here's the crazy thing about it. I always try to go vegan or vegetarian. And at first I would feel great. And then all of a sudden I would just start feeling horrible. And I'm not a big meat eater. I actually like vegetables. I'm O negative. So when I looked at the blood type diet from my blood, I was shook. I'm supposed to eat a lot of lean red meats. I'm supposed to consume a lot of meats, okay? Grass-fed, of course. And then leafy greens. And then, what else was it? Leafy greens and vegetables. I am supposed to avoid dairy. And I freaking love me some dairy, okay? And I'm supposed to avoid, what do you call that? Oh my God, I can't think right now. Pastas. I gotta avoid pasta, bread. I'm not really a big bread person, but I love pasta. I freaking love pasta. It's funny because here's the crazy part. And this is why doing all 3 is so important, is that, remember, I did the food sensitivity test. So it tells me foods that I'm highly sensitive to. So if you do the blood type diet, it's broad. So if you know what foods you're sensitive to and you're doing the blood type diet, there are some things in there that match exactly to what I'm supposed to be eating. But then there's some other things in there where the blood type diet, for example, the blood type diet told me to eat eggs. Eggs are beneficial for me. But when I did the food sensitivity test, egg yolk, I have a high reaction to egg yolk. So that's why it's key to really do the food sensitivity test. Because if you follow a diet, let's say you're doing like, I don't know, you're doing like an antihistamine diet or something of that nature, right? What if you're sensitive to a lot of those foods that you're doing that diet for? Or you're doing keto? Doing the food sensitivity test will tell you a lot, especially if you want to do a diet like the blood type diet. So most of the things that is said in my food sensitivity test, it matched perfectly with my blood type diet. I will say one more thing that I didn't mention earlier when I was talking about the food sensitivity test. When you do get your test back, this is what I want you to do. When you get that email with your test, I want you to copy everything that's in your test and paste it into ChatGPT. I don't care. Not just your results, just anything that's in the test. Makes it easier, right? Just copy the whole thing, put it in ChatGPT, and say to Chat, hey Chat, can you give me a full assessment on my overall health? I found out that I am highly sensitive to histamine foods, that my body in its current state cannot process histamine foods, which explains why I always have issues with my allergies. I'm always congested. I always have like issues that surrounds around histamine. It's so important to figure out what is going on with your body so that you can thrive. So the pre and probiotics, you need those. The food sensitivity test, I'm gonna say it straight up, you need that. You need to take that, and it's super inexpensive. You don't have to do the third step if you don't want to. If you don't want to eat for your blood type, that's totally fine. But at least the first 2 gives you a roadmap so you know what foods work best for you. You know how to combat any kind of hormone changes in your body that will affect your digestive health. Because at the end of the day, without a strong gut microbiome, which is your gut health, can't enjoy life. And I don't know about you, I want to enjoy life. These 3 simple steps that I took allowed me to drastically change my gut health in 30 days. If you don't know anything about the blood type diet, you can always go on ChatGPT to get the information for free. Find out your blood type, ask it, what food should I be eating for my blood type? Based on the blood type diet, and it'll give you a chart with information, and you can go from there. I want you to let me know in the comments below if you're going to try this out. If you're having gut issues, I want to hear about it. What are some of the symptoms that you're experiencing? And let me know if you're going to try any of these steps. Seriously, you can't go wrong with anyone that you try. I'd rather you do something than nothing. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe. My name is Frankie. I will see you guys next week for part 2 of my sleep video. But if you have not seen the first video, part 1, I'll link it up right here. All right, I'll see you next week. Frankie out.